Well, this week, the Department of Homeland Security made public the suspension of the Migrant Protection Protocols. That means people wanting to become residents of the United States have the option of waiting for their day in court here instead of in Mexico. Our Ashley Gonzalez has more.
President Joe Biden wasted no time in taking action towards immigration issues. The Department of Homeland Security says they have suspended the Migrant Protection Protocols, or better known as the Remain in Mexico program. Political science professor Travis Braidwood says the reason this program was put in place at first was because the government was afraid that asylum seekers wanting American citizenship would get to the United States and disappear, resulting in a missed court meeting. Dr. Braidwood says this was something that almost never happened.
If you look at actual numbers on this was not the case. In fact, the vast majority of people seeking asylum or seeking immigration into the country through these border crossings do show up to their meeting.
He says now, asylum seekers do not have to wait in Mexico for their court date. Instead, they can wait here in the United States.
If you were in the United States before this date of November 1st, we're not going to deport you unless you've committed some sort of crime or you're a violent felon. Instead, you can remain here to look for your date.
Dr. Braidwood added, for several years, it's been getting more and more difficult for asylum seekers to get citizenship here in the United States. And because of this, he says we can expect President Biden making more of a push to accomplish this.
You can expect we're going to see in the coming days and weeks a flurry of new orders and policies from the Biden administration trying to instead move us towards a asylum granting policy.
Dr. Braidwood added, President Biden would have to work closely with Congress to make big changes happen while he's in office. And even if Congress approves drastic changes in the future, the process to enforce could take a while. Ashley Gonzalez, 3 News.